So, welcome everybody at the war story, how we got out of the trenches.
Thank you all for coming. We are going to present to you in this presentation two topics. The first one is how I found my DevOps team in a stalling DevOps transition after 8 months. They were working out of the trenches and trying to get everything done in time, with quality, without working overtime. And of course, they couldn't. The second thing is that we are going to explain four approaches that we took to get them out of the trenches. And we will come to that in this presentation, so hang on with us.
And we are curious which symptoms you recognize. And the first one is a symptom that you work overtime. Put your hands up if you acknowledge that one. So half, almost. And in the meantime, it can be that actually the amount of work, your queue, your backlog, is actually rising while you're working so hard. A little bit less, but also almost half. And then it's, of course, tough to work on improvements. So who feels too busy to work on improvements? So, high rise, so I can count, but I think 60%. And the man next to me raises his hand.
Yeah, so you will ask yourself, why am I raising my hand here? I run a DevOps department, and we have all the symptoms that you saw up till now. And we have a couple of more for you. So please pay attention to the troubles that we found.
Yeah, applying DevOps by the book doesn't feel effective. A few hands are rising. Yeah. Losing great employees in the meantime. In this tough labor market, of course. Yeah, find the proper new ones is tough. Better easy to keep them. Multiple DevOps teams living on their island. Like it feels they're in separate context. Yeah. A few hands go up. Thank you for sharing. So I hope there is something in the story. At least these were the trenches which we found out in the beginning of our journey.
Yep. So let me quickly introduce myself and the reason why I'm here, and also the reason why Irene is here. I'm VP DevOps for Keylane. Keylane is a company that provides SaaS services for insurance companies in the Benelux, the Nordics, and in Germany. And as I already said, I found my team stalling after 8 months of doing DevOps. Of course, we gave them all the proper training. Of course, we gave them the Phoenix handbook. Of course, we gave them the DevOps handbook, and we did the reteaming and everything according to the book. But apparently, that still meant that my team came to a stall. They weren't improving anymore. They are working overtime. They didn't have any time to think, to improve, or to innovate at all. And I also came to the conclusion that I was not able to do this solutioning of this problem by myself. So I reached out to Xebia and to Irene to help me, because Irene could nicely work with the teams and inside out and on the ground level. And by having Irene, I could focus a little bit more on the managerial level, work with my team on the leadership traits and everything. So, Irene.
Yeah, I'm Irene de Kok. I'm an Agile consultant at Xebia, and I'd love to create healthy work environments where we work on what we believe on and what works in practice. So learning is something you should facilitate, but if you're very busy, that's very tough. I'd love the people working at Keylane. They're very modest, very smart, but their primary tactic was to work harder or think I'm maybe the only one who thinks this is a problem. And there were not that many occasions to fix that. So then it doesn't improve.
So what happens? My team was in the doom loop, and everybody knows the doom loop from Jim Collins' book. They were working harder and harder and harder, but not smarter, because they didn't find the time Customers were calling. We had too many tickets open. Everything that you can imagine that kept them from Friday afternoon is where we do improvements, but Friday afternoon never happens, right? So everybody knows that. So we had to find a way to get them into the improvement flywheel. So we were searching for the flywheel effect. And our approach was to start doing proper retrospectives, proper improvement sessions, but also find time to innovate.
And it's very tough, of course, when SLAs are tough to maintain and you're so busy. So you should really use your time effectively when you invest in improvements, because you do not want to say, it's lost time. So it should be very good. But we managed to get out of the trenches, and these are actually, after a year, the accomplishments or the impacts we could see.
Yeah, so don't think that this is the end of the presentation, because this is the middle, right? So we like to do a sort of mix-up of start and end, and we have a nice takeaway at the end. So we wanted to explain to you the observable metrics and results after Irene and I worked together with my teams. I have 4 DevOps teams that serve 20 customers, and we found out ways to not only work on the improvements, but also to measure how we could improve. The first one is that we saw after a year that we were able to do all our work in normal hours instead of working overtime and hard time and evening and weekends. And the good thing is that when you are able to do that, you create automatically time to start thinking, to start improving and start innovating. The second thing that we saw is, and what we also could measure, is that we were able to bring down the average open ticket count that we saw at any minute in the day, was lowered from 1,600 tickets to 1,000. So we almost, let's say, came close to half it down. We also saw, and you saw one of the things that we were struggling with was attrition. We were able to foster an environment that was not about working overtime and only hard working and make sure that you have everything right. So we were able to lower the attrition to normal standards in, let's say, our industry, but also in other departments of my company. We could also measure the employee happiness. We do twice a year, we do an employee survey that we measure. And we were able to get the employee happiness score, if you would want to call it like that, from a 7 on a 10-point scale to 8. So that was really a huge improvement. I managed to get the highest score in the company of my department.
Especially if you look to the ranking from the bottom to the top, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And at the end, and the most important one, also customers were able to feel that we were improving. We had less incidents, we were solving incidents faster, and we had time to think with them instead of just working on incidents, so we were able to work together with them on improvements. Yeah. So that brings us to the next slide.
Yeah, but we really would like that also you are maybe more capable to fix this.
Yep.
So if you have clarifying questions, you're welcome. If you would like to discuss with us, come after the talk. Before we go to our war story, I would like to make that invite.
Yeah.
So, now we'll explain which 4 major steps we made to climb out of these trenches, to break out of them and get to a more healthy environment where you have overview. Yeah, and let's start with the beginning of our journey.
Yeah. So Irene and I sat together and we were thinking about, okay, what can be the first step? How can we get these people out of the trenches? We came to the idea, perhaps a little bit inspired by the Phoenix book, is that we needed to find where the true bottlenecks are. Because when I talked to the people in DevOps, they were saying, yeah, we do improvements, but it was individual improvements when they had a little bit of time left, and it was all suboptimal. There was not a list of improvements, there was not a list of bottlenecks, and there was no prioritization. So what we did, we invited a good sample of the DevOps teams to Xebia office for a day. So we took them out of the normal working environment, put them at the Xebia office, and we did a business process mapping exercise with them to find the true bottlenecks and find which one are the most important, but also the most effective and efficient to start working on.
Yeah. That's inspired by Daniel Goldred. The goal to facilitate flow, it's very important to focus your efforts on the thing which creates a growing queue, which is the smallest part in your process, where you lack in capacity, and you need to know that. And therefore, you also need to have overview to distinguish where it is. So it crosses organizational boundaries. So therefore, we invited a sample overtaking multiple organizational boundaries. So all teams of your department were present, and from the other adjacent departments, there were people present. So we had all perspectives to get a representative view to be able to prioritize which bottlenecks makes the most gets the most attention. And we were wondering who does that kind of prioritization. Where is the bottleneck and what should be first in your organization? So maybe some people may shout out which position or who does that at your organization.
Whoever did a proper business
I don't see hands.
Business process mapping to find the true bottlenecks. Nobody.
Okay. Well,
perhaps it's a good practice.
Maybe that's also a good answer, because it should not be nobody, but it should be everybody, because you need many perspectives to distinguish which bottleneck makes sense the most. So we first start to map the current reality. So how looks this process like? And it was the monthly deployment, which was actually longer taking than a month. So it's overlapping and then becomes really busy. So it should be fit into a month.
Yep.
And with all the people present, it was like 15, 16 people, something like that. And we managed to get a representative overview within 2 or 3 hours. And the next step, we asked them, where do you think is the bottleneck? Which is taking too long? What is tough? What's too laborious? Also boring, because we want to tackle that attrition. So it should be interesting work. So where is the bottleneck which lowers our total capacity? Yeah, and also a very important thing, when you know where's the bottleneck, how do you start tackling that? And especially with this modest people, they think other person may make the first step, but we started to at least sketch where is the first step you should take, what's the solution direction, so you can start on the journey. And I was really strict on that the first steps may be quite actionable. It's mitigating. So you don't really resolve the full bottleneck, but at least you start getting a view on what you could do, how big the problem, or when the problem, or who to talk to. I don't know, whatever, but it should be somehow actionable.
Yep.
Yeah. This is a view on how the process looked like. I think almost 100 steps and all kind of legenda, how it works. And also an important thing I would like to mention is that there was a representative set over there, but we made a video, which was a recorded presentation, which was shared with everybody. So everybody who was not there could also at least see our insights.
Yeah, and so what we did in the afternoon, in the morning we were able to map this out. On the afternoon, we focused on the blue sticky notes that you see here, and how can we solve them? How can we remove manual work, or how can we automate things better or faster? And what we found out, and Irene already mentioned that a few times, typical engineers are a little bit inside head, they are not outspoken. We came to the conclusion that we also had to bring a little bit more safety into the meeting, and that brings us to the next slide.
Yeah.
Step 2 in our war plan, and I know that we see this in a couple of presentations yesterday, today, how important it is to create a psychological safe environment. Because when the engineers do not feel free to speak up, to tell really where they think that the problem is, or that they can safely come up with a stupid idea or bright idea without having the chance that somebody says it's a stupid idea and let's move on, let's start working, we are talking too long. And what we did is, together with Irene, we figured out how can we bring this psychological safety into the daily meetings, the weekly meetings, the monthly meetings. And that is also very important why Irene, as an outsider, could work together with the team on a safe way. Because you can imagine that ISVP cannot start attending retrospectives and telling them how to work, or that it's not okay what they are doing, or that they should be more creative, etc. So for me, it was very important to have somebody like Irene that worked for me over a year. In the beginning, once every week. After that, we did it every other week for a day. To work on the psychological safety and also work inside out with the teams. You worked with the teams while I was working, perhaps with the same ideas and the same method, but then more top-down with my managers and working with them on that side. When we go to the next slide, I think one of the takeaways is that you really, really, really have to nurture this safety throughout the organization. The safety should come from the top down. So I need to be safe as a VP, that my CEO agrees with this. But also my managers should feel safe to do all these kind of things with their teams without me being present. And Irene and the teams should feel safe to do whatever they think is needed to do these kind of improvements.
Yeah, I saw really at Keylane the people were really strict and modest, and they really complied to anything. But if you see it doesn't work, you should vary your approach within an acceptable risk. And you may not know the solution up front. And that kind of safety we really needed to nurture, and that not only the expert knows the solution, but maybe more people than only the expert.
Yep.
So we had various ways where we nurtured and fostered this kind of safety. A few were from you.
Yeah, what we did, we decided together, because we could not always work together, but Irene was working in the trenches and I was hovering a bit above the trenches perhaps. We decided to share some mantras that we would use in our verbal communication, in written communication, etc., so that we would speak the same language when Irene was working with the teams and I was working with the managers. And one of the things that we thought was very important was, for instance, trust over control. So trust the teams instead of trying to control them. Errors are okay, but don't make them twice. Dare to give. Yeah. That means dare to ask. When you have problems, dare to ask other people for help. It's not stupid to ask for help. But also dare to give. Even when you're busy, help your colleagues, etc. So we decided to have some mantras that we could work with.
Yeah. One of the things which really helped to nurture this safety is if people intended to do something, I often ask them, what did you do with it? But really, like they were open that they could also acknowledge I did not do with it. But then I asked, okay, what is it not applicable anymore? Or, oh yeah, no, actually I should do something. Okay, so think what will you do then upcoming next week? I was kind of strict with that, but I fostered them to take some actions. And I'm wondering what kind of mantras you do have to nurture that safety or foster that continuous improvement culture. So we would like to give you a minute to share with your neighbor what kind of things you say to foster that environment. And afterwards we sticked on the wall ours, and we would like to invite you to add yours at the exit when you leave the room. So please take a minute with your neighbor to share your thoughts on this.
Slide. Border slide.
Yeah. I don't. Oh yeah, there's the timer.
So I think it's also very important for you all to think about these kind of mantras that you can use within the team and within your management and etc. to work and use these mantras in your daily communication. So what we want to, at the end of this presentation, if you want to put a sticky note up, if you have anything to add for us that we can take home. So we're going to the next slide, and we're going to step 3.
No, just 10 seconds.
Okay, the minute is over.
Yeah, you thought the minute is over. No, I saw the time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to finish our story in time. We would like to go to step 3 in our war plan, create breeding places for improvement. So with the business mapping, we took a focus effort, but it should be natural that great ideas have a chance to grow. And we set up or nurtured multiple places where that be. And the first one is the retrospectives. As an Agile coach, I've seen and been and hosted a lot. And when I was at Keylane, I heard they were boring and they often skip them. I thought that is not good. What do they do? And what they do, they did it by the book. They did the exact format they learned in the training each time and again. So they asked the same question at the same people about the same time frame. And of course, then it's fading out, the interesting discussions. So I encourage them to see it differently, like it's time with your team to find improvements. And that you should look every retrospective for a certain focus on a certain theme or a certain subject or aspect or whatever, but that you box a little bit the content and that you find also a format which facilitates the proper discussions and that maybe sometimes has some preparations and also that it should be fun. So that really changed, and actually now they don't find it boring anymore. And the next thing, we have this focused bottleneck mitigation workshops like the business process mapping for also a few other occasions within the complex processes to overcome the organizational boundaries. Yep. And the last, and we had also guilds, because you have cross-functional teams, certain disciplines are spread over teams, and they lost connection, living on their island, and they should reconnect and learn from each other and think, I see this problem, do you see that also? And one of the main guilds we started with was with the Flow Masters. They worked with Kanban, so not a Scrum Master, but a Flow Master, which fosters a good cooperation within the teams. And they said, well, these breeding places we actually do miss in our company. What can we do? And
exactly. So this is all kind of improvements that we could do within my DevOps department. But we came also to the conclusion this is about improvements, but we also want to go on step 4. And step 4 is creating room for innovation. Not just improving the bottlenecks, but how can we invent something new, or new tools, or new ways of working, new technology. And we wanted to do that not only within the DevOps, but cross-functional, cross-team, and across departments. And we call that an open space. And Irene can explain what an open space is.
Yeah, it was actually very innovative at Keylane, because it was really time we gave to the people to exchange ideas without a strict content policy up front. It was actually very open. Like everyone who had an idea or something who wants to explore a problem or a solution or technology is welcome to come. If you don't want to, please stay at your desk, no problem. And also we invited adjacent departments. And actually we had a big space, the ground floor of the Keylane office. And we said, we have that corner, and this middle big table. And everyone could put their subject on the schema And it was like session 1 starts at 3 o'clock and choose which of the 6 parallel sessions you could have. And what I really like is that, does this work? Yeah, this law of 2 feet. It was really giving the trust to the people that they use their time wisely. So one of the rules was if you don't contribute or learn at the moment, please move to another session. So
or go back to work.
Or go back to work, also allowed. But you're responsible for your own effectiveness during the open space.
Yep.
And what happened at Keylane, Bernie?
Yeah, what happened at Keylane was funny because we have a very open space. That's also a little bit where the name comes from. It's our cafeteria area that we also use for big presentations. And there were all these people running around with sticky notes and visible different groups at different spaces in the open space. And one of my C-level directors came to me and said, "What are these people all doing? Shouldn't they work instead of running around here and doing all kind of sticky note sessions for 3 hours in a row?" And I told them, well, this is exactly what I want them to do. They are finding bottlenecks. They can do that in a psychological safe environment. They are working on improvements, but they are also working on innovation. So this is exactly what needs to be done here. So the guy nodded and slowly went away like, okay, I shouldn't interfere. So that was a good thing to have. We have to watch the time. People are telling us.
But we learned a lot, but we still have some open challenges. You can read them here. Please talk to us later. And of course, this is not rocket science, isn't it?
So that is almost with all presentations that you already see. Everybody reads the books. Everybody has been to different congresses to hear about the stories. Is it rocket science, what we told you today? No. But when you go to the next click, most people know it, but they forget to do it in their day-to-day work. And that is how we want to end this story. Is you saw the problems, you saw the solutions that worked for me or for my company. Our advice is just do it, just try it, and do it in a psychological safe environment. That will bring the results. Thank you very much.